Thank you, everyone, and welcome. We were just stalling on a few people, but I think we're going to get started because I know people have short timelines and things to get to. Welcome. I would like to introduce Lily from the Massacre College Student Association, who's going to do our land acknowledgement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lily Shear, and I am the current president of the Students Association of Medicine and College. We are honored to be able to host this ceremony today. I would like to honor and acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 7 and are neighbor to Treaty 4 territory, traditional lands of the Siksika, Blackfoot, Kainai, Blood, Piikani, Stoney Nakoda, and Tsuut'ina, Sarsi, as well as Cree, Sault, and the Saulteaux bands of the Ojibwa peoples. As we also acknowledge and honor that we are on the homeland of the Métis Nation within Region 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, we had a bit of change of plans. I know it says Kevin on your program, but he's ill. So Lily stepped in for us. Thank you so much. We were also waiting for Sharon from the District Labor Council, and I don't see her yet. So we're just going to keep going through it. So thank you for joining us on this solemn day for our annual ceremony to honor the victims of the École Polytechnique massacre and all victims of gender-based violence, and to mark the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. Thank you to Councillor Sharps and Councillor Hyder who have joined us tonight, and Chief Murphy from the Medicine Police Service. Thank you very much. We appreciate the support. We'd like to remember, on December 6, 1989 at 5:10 p.m., Marc Lepine entered Montreal's École Polytechnique armed with a semi-automatic rifle, ammunition, and knives. He entered the classroom, carefully and systematically separated the men from the women before opening fire on the classroom of female engineering students. He screamed, "I hate feminists." He killed the 14 women for no other reason but because they were women, and then he killed himself. The letter that he left behind detailed his hatred towards women. On December 6, 1989, our country was changed forever. It was the largest mass shooting in Canada at the time. These 14 young women who were killed tragically at Montreal's École Polytechnique, killed simply because they were women, killed in a misogynistic attack. They were brilliant students, creative thinkers, beloved sisters, and cherished daughters. Their lives cut short became the source of sorrow for a nation. Their deaths sparked a movement that has directly aimed at violence hidden in the shadows for too long. We stand in solidarity. It has been 34 years since that tragic mass shooting, that senseless act of targeted violence that shook our country and led Parliament to designate December 6th as the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. This day also falls within the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. An annual United Nations campaign begins on November 25th, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and runs until December 10th, which is Human Rights Day. Memorials across Canada are being held tonight to remember these women killed in the Montreal massacre, as well as missing, murdered, and Indigenous women, and all others who were affected by gender-based violence. Parliament declared this a day to honor those 14 women killed who will never again meet with friends, never laugh, never cry, young women who dreamed their dreams, who shared their hopes and aspirations, and worked towards achieving their goals. Young women who loved and were loved, and they were killed simply because they were women. This day is a day not only to remember, but also a time to reflect on the phenomenon of male-perpetuated violence against women in our society, and it's also a day for our communities and individuals to speak out against all types of violence against women, the impact on victims and their families and friends. Sadly, gender-based violence has been on the rise. This is why we must do more than just remember. We must fight for safety, for justice, for equality, representation, and recognition, because every step we take towards gender justice and equality brings us one step closer to ending gender-based violence. My name is Natasha Carvalho. I'm the Executive Director of the Medicine Hat Women's Shelter Society, and I've been in this role for 17 years. Thank you for joining us on this difficult but important day to remember the 14 women who were murdered in a horrific way due to misogyny. I'll remind you that I was in Montreal on that terrible night 34 years ago, and now I stand here before you to continue to work daily to end male violence against women and children. This day is about commemorating those 14 women whose lives were taken too soon in that act of misogynistic fueled terrorism that shocked the nation and to also remember those that have died and continue to die every day because of this type of targeted violence. We all have a role to play to create a world that ensures tragedies like this never happen again, but also to ask ourselves why. 34 years later, we still need to talk about the epidemic of violence against women in our society. We still daily struggle with an imbalance of power and control in a society that too often turns a blind eye to violence against women. It's a day to remember and consider these women and girls for whom violence is a daily reality. It is a day community can consider concrete actions to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls. I ask each of you here today to take this opportunity to think and to talk and learn about violence against women, and then decide what you will do personally to stop this horror and make the commitment to make the world a safe and honorable world for young women and children. I have a daughter who's in her second year of university away from home. I cannot even begin to imagine those mothers who sent their girls off to university. So proud of their girls that they were doing well and succeeding in a difficult field, and to get a call and to find out that horror. My heart broke then, and it breaks every single year for that loss. It's very poignant right now. Today, we also want to grieve and honor the 22 people who were killed in 2020 in the Portapique, Nova Scotia attack, which is now considered the deadliest mass shooting in Canadian history. What is known to us now is that the gunman had an extensive history of violence against his family, including his partner, who he had violently assaulted before beginning his deadly rampage. What happened in Portapique reaffirms what we already know, that violence against women, including family violence, is an early warning sign for most mass shootings, and that violence impacts the whole communities. We saw that again in September 2022 with the mass killings on the James Smith Cree Nation. It is this urgent call to action, long called for by Indigenous women, families, and communities, to address the ongoing genocide of Indigenous women and girls, Two-Spirit, and gender-diverse people that has not been taken. As organizations and advocates working to end violence against women and girls, we stand in solidarity. We echo the calls of Indigenous advocates and organizations for immediate and concrete action to better implement the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women, as well as the 231 calls for action, justice, and truth and reconciliation. We commit to reflecting this urgent need for action that centers the lives of Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people in our own work. Alberta has one of the highest rates of domestic violence in the country. We saw that impact firsthand at a local level this year. This past year, we served over 947 individuals and 251 children. We continue to see profound mental health and addictions crisis during this time in our city. People are hurting. New research from the United Nations found that nearly 89,000 women and girls were killed in 2022 across the globe, intentionally killed, the highest yearly number recorded in the past 2 decades. Data currently available suggests that the increase in female homicides occurred despite a drop in the overall number of homicides. The Alberta Council of Women's Shelter releases an annual data report. This year shows a 19% jump in shelter usage. These numbers tell a sobering story. This past year, domestic violence and abuse increased in frequency and severity. Helpline calls are at their highest ever in 10 years. As well, showing that provincially 42% of women responded yes to the question, has your partner ever tried to strangle you? This number is at its highest it's ever been in 10 years. In the days after the Montreal massacre, a poster appeared with red roses and the names of the victims in a Polytechnique and a single slogan, first mourn and then work for change. On this day, on the 34th anniversary of that tragedy, I would ask each one of us to recommit ourselves to work to end sexism and violence and murder against women. The young women killed that day and the hundreds of women killed since that day deserve no less. This is indeed a difficult speech to give today. I've been working in this type of activism and social justice work my entire adult life. Here we are 34 years later, still gathering to mourn and to grieve and to honor those who've lost their lives in acts of gender-based violence. Some things have changed over the years, but power imbalances still exist. Misogyny still exists. Violence against women and girls continues to grow. Some days I despair we haven't made any progress, but most days I have hope I hope that someday we will and can affect change. We must continue to honor the 14 women who were killed in Montreal for being women in a traditional male world, and all of the other women who were and still are being killed, hurt, raped, assaulted, and we must promise to ourselves and to each other not to stop or slow down our fight until all of this male violence against women becomes a part of the dark days of our history, and our work is far from over. Let us continue to celebrate the lives of the victims at Polytechnique, their passions and their dreams, because we strive for a future where every woman, girl, and gender diverse person has the power, safety, support, and the right to thrive. Let us use this day to gather and mourn and step forward and continue to work for change so that one day there will be no more names to add to this list we mourn, of those we mourn. Thank you. Thank you for attending this vigil tonight. You are helping to grow hope in our community. I would like to introduce Jennifer Kerslake, President of our Board of Directors at the shelter. Oh, Sharon, great. Sharon Stoltz from the Medicine Hat District and Labor Council is going to speak. I got the mic all warmed up for you.
Okay, my apologies to everybody. I was told 6 o'clock start. I'm not involved with the Labor Council, but they asked me if I'd speak for them tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen and fellow citizens, on behalf of the Medicine Hat Labor Council, I stand before you today with a heavy heart to commemorate the solemn occasion of an annual vigil for the December 6th Montreal massacre. This day serves as a stark reminder of the deep-seated issues surrounding gender-based violence and the importance of standing together in solidarity to create a more just and equitable society. The tragic events that unfolded at École Polytechnique in Montreal on that fateful day in 1989 shook our nation to its core. 14 brilliant young women lost their lives at the hands of a hateful individual who sought to silence their voices and dreams. These women were targeted simply because of their gender, their dreams, and their courage to challenge the norms of a predominantly male-dominated field. We gather here not only to mourn the lives lost, but also to reflect on the broader issues that this tragedy brought to the forefront. The Montreal massacre ignited a national conversation about violence against women and the need for a change in society, and began the need for an overdue change, and it started a call to action. Today, as we remember those 14 brilliant souls, we must also remember the countless victims of gender-based violence whose stories often go untold. Domestic violence, sexual harassment, assault, and discrimination continue to affect women across our nation and around the world. It is our duty as a community to stand together against these injustices, to give a voice to the voiceless, and to create an environment where all individuals, regardless of their gender, can live free from fear and violence. The Medicine Hat District Labor Council, along with countless other organizations, is committed to supporting gender equality and creating a safer and more inclusive society. We believe that education, awareness, and advocacy are essential tools in combating gender-based violence. We encourage open conversations, support for survivors, and the dismantling of the systematic gender equalities in all aspects of life. Today, we renew our commitment to this cause, and we stand together to say that violence against women is never acceptable. Together, we must work tirelessly to challenge stereotypes, raise awareness, and create a world where every woman and girl can live without the constant threat of violence and discrimination. Let us remember the 14 bright stars we lost in Montreal massacre as a symbol of our ongoing commitment to a world free of violence. Let their memory inspire us to continue the fight for justice, equality, and respect for all. As we come together in unity, may we work towards a future where no woman or girl ever has to fear walking alone, pursuing her dreams, or speaking her truth. Thank you, and may we honor their memory by making a positive change in our world.
As we gather here today, we remember and honor the lives of the 14 women taken on December 6, 1989. Anne-Marie LeMay, Anne-Marie Edward, Annie Saint Arnaud, Annie Turcott, Barbara Dineo, Barbara Kluznik Vidovich, Jean-Pierre Bergeon, Hélène Colgan, Maurice Laganière, Maurice Leclerc, Maude Avernick, Michelle Richard, Natalie Croteau, Sonia Pelletier. We remember and honor the 10 women and 4 men injured on December 6th and all who survived, but whose lives would be forever changed. We remember and honor those who survived but didn't, the several students who would later die by suicide. We remember and honor the first responders. We remember and honor the friends and family who carry the memories of these 14 women. We remember and honor all women who have lost their lives due to violence. We remember and honor the thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women across Canada. We remember and honor the friends, family, and loved ones of all of these women and the pain and loss they carry with them every day. We honor those who continue to do this. We honor those who continue to this day to live with and experience violence in our communities. Let us honor them with a moment of silence.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We invite you to stay for some refreshments, but first we're going to go outside and light some candles and have a bit of a candlelight vigil for a moment and just remember the names. Thank you. Oh, sorry, the origami butterflies that are on the tables represent the 170 people who were killed this year due to acts of gender-based violence. We invite you to take one with you to remember this night.